Welcome to Workplace Psychology with Dr. Martha Greidick. I'm Dr. Martha Greidick. This podcast examines a wide variety of work-related issues through the lens of industrial and organizational psychology. And while many of the topics discussed here may be seen as intended for white-collar employees and their employers, in reality, the ideas presented here are applicable across organizations and industries. Additionally, many of the topics discussed here may be applicable outside of the workplace. I encourage you to examine what's presented here, apply what makes sense to you, and simply discard the rest. As is the case with any type of conversations at work, specifically conversations that are productive, don't happen by chance. It's important to be deliberate and intentional, especially when it comes to the conversations that we have at the workplace. The right kind of conversations can get things resolved, can resolve problems, can introduce new ideas, can get us moving forward. And the wrong kinds of conversations can be time wasters. Not only can they be counterproductive, they can waste time, energy, and sometimes even create new problems or new issues. So how do we make the best of the conversations that we have at work? Well, we can start by preparing ourselves before a conversation. And while that's not always an option, whenever it is an option, it's wise to take advantage of it and actually prepare for an upcoming conversation. This means doing things such as gathering information, gathering data on the topic that will be discussed. And it also is an opportunity to figure out where you stand on a specific topic, what your position, what your opinion is. It's also a good opportunity to get your emotions in check. And finally, it's an opportunity to take responsibility for the self, everything from your thoughts, emotions, to your behaviors. During the actual conversation, we all have the responsibility and the opportunity to make it into a safe and productive experience for everyone involved. Think about things such as your body language, things that you say, things that you don't say. What are you doing in order to contribute to the kind of environment that is being created for this conversation in question? It's important to stay focused, to stay on point. It's so easy to get sidetracked, especially if you or a person that you're speaking with may have the propensity to get sidetracked easily. So make sure that you're staying focused and staying on point. That's how productive conversations happen. Another thing to remember is to focus on the root of the problem. Sometimes we get sidetracked by focusing on symptoms, and while symptoms need to be dealt with at some point, in order to truly resolve an issue, we need to look at the root of the problem. Remember active listening when you're in a conversation with someone else. That means actually paying attention to them, not thinking about what your answer will be or not checking your phone or your emails, but actually paying attention to them. Active listening is a big deal, and so many people seem to have gotten away from it. But in order to have a good conversation, a productive conversation, active listening is a must. Separate people from behaviors. Make sure that you're not focusing on a person and finding faults or assigning blame, but rather focus on expectations, things that would lead to a resolution, things that would lead to improvement and forward movement. Remember to stay open to new ideas and different points of view. And as always, don't get caught up with excuses. Don't allow excuses, whether that be from yourself or from anybody else contributing to the conversation. Remember to ask questions, preferably open-ended questions, and don't forget to rephrase, to restate what you heard, to make sure that you understand what is being conveyed to you. And just as every conversation will have a beginning, it will also have an end. So it's helpful to recap your conversation before it ends so everybody walks away being on the same page. After the conversation, make sure that you are committed to taking action. Talking about something is only part of what it takes to have a productive experience. We have to be able to take action after we've decided what needs to be done or what needs to be changed. And that leads me to the next point. Make sure that you are open to change, that you embrace the necessary change. Without being open to change and embracing what is necessary in terms of change, we can't move forward, not very effectively anyway. So make sure that you are open to change and embrace any necessary change that is presented before you. And of course, remember to follow up. There may be things that need to be adjusted or changed altogether. Once you embark on a journey to address something, whether it's an issue, a problem, an upcoming change, it's important to not only engage in whatever actions are necessary, but to have a regular systematic check-in so that you can make adjustments and corrections in your course as you move forward. As this episode comes to an end, let's review what was discussed. Having productive conversations at work is a must. And while sometimes it's easy to get derailed by side tangents, if we put some effort into having actual productive conversations, they can be accomplished without many issues, if any issues at all. All it takes is some focus on our part. Prepare before the conversation if that's an option. Check your feelings, check your emotions, gather your data, figure out where you stand on the issue, and make sure that you take responsibility for yourself. That means both your actions and your feelings on the subject, whatever vibes you're giving off. During the conversation, let's start by making sure that we're contributing to creating a good, safe environment where that productive conversation can happen. Stay focused, stay on point, and don't get distracted by side tangents. Make sure that you engage in active listening, and remember that the most important thing is to get to the root of a problem. Don't just focus on symptoms. Stay open to new ideas and different points of view. Don't allow excuses to get tangled up in your conversation. And remember to separate individuals from behaviors and from goals of what you want to accomplish. Ask questions and don't be too shy to rephrase. You want to make sure you solidify your understanding and make sure that you recap the conversation at the end so everybody walks away feeling like they are on the same page. Of course, it's important to take action after a conversation takes place. Don't be afraid of change, and don't be afraid to check in periodically to make sure that everybody is on the right course. Having that conversation is only one part of a successful whole. As the week unfolds, I invite you to examine your own ability to have productive conversations at the workplace. And even if your own skills are pretty good or very good, you may find yourself being derailed by someone else who seems to go off on side tangents and derails the productivity of your conversation. So this is an opportunity for you to review what was discussed today and work on honing in your own skills so that you can direct a conversation and keep it on track regardless of where somebody else's skill level is in terms of productive conversations. So I invite you to review what was discussed today and really work on honing your skills. For those of you who are experiencing this podcast in an audio-only version, I invite you to check out my YouTube channel where you can find the video version of the podcast. In addition to the video version of the podcast, you can find other videos on my YouTube channel. Those focus on a comprehensive approach to stress management. So I invite you to check out Stress Free with Dr. G on YouTube. The link for that is in the description below. Thank you for joining me today. Please subscribe to this podcast. I look forward to seeing you here again next time. Until then, I wish you joy and well-being.